Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, a special legislative session to reform the state's child safety system is set for next week. And prominent Arizona Republicans call on Attorney General Tom Horne not to run for re-election. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital Times, Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal, and Steve Goldstein of KJZZ Radio. A special legislative session to overhaul the state's child safety system is set to begin Tuesday. Jeremy, what do we expect from this thing?
Well, we've got the governor is asking for about, I think, $55–60 million in new funding for this. This is going to go towards a lot of new staffing for this, what's going to be a brand new agency. They're at long last taking this out from under the aegis of the Department of Economic Security. They feel it'll be kind of easier to keep track of, more transparency if it's its own agency. There's going to be a lot of new staffers trying to get rid of an almost 15,000 case backlog. There's going to be several levels of new oversight, child care subsidies, a lot of stuff is going into this.
Is it a lot of stuff that's going to make a substantive difference or just a lot of stuff?
That's the big question that people are going to have down at the legislature is what kind of difference it's going to make. Are you just changing the name of the agency, the letterhead, or are you actually going to make real changes that'll help this troubled agency that's been here for a number of years? We've had these problems. That's the goal of the governor, is to take it out from DES, make it independent, make it more transparent, more investigators, more layers to make sure that we don't have problems like with all the unanswered calls. But the question is, we've gone through these exercises before with this agency, lots of calls for reform in the past. What's really different other than making it independent?
Ted, I think one big thing, and I would add to what Mike is saying, is that there is reason to have a lot of doubt about this because we don't know what it's going to look like, whether Flanagan does a great job or not. But the issue with something like this is it always helps to have that spotlight shining bright on it because people are not just going to forget about this in a couple of months. They'll forget about it at some point and move on to something else. But this being a special session, I think there is optimism in the air. Dana Neymark of Children's Action Alliance has said this. At least it seems to be going in the right direction. In past reforms, stuff was thrown at the wall, but nothing really stuck. I think there's a difference now.
I think there's a lot of parallels to the VA. Is the culture going to change? They've thrown money at the VA. They've tried different things at the VA. Same thing with CPS. Are they going to change the culture there? Are the people working there going to behave differently? Are they going to be more efficient? Is there going to be more interest in making sure things don't fall through the cracks? We haven't been able to do that before, so being independent, maybe that helps, but maybe it doesn't.
And we heard a lot about that yesterday is, the desire by the new director in the governor's office to change the culture is kind of the buzzword, the buzz phrase. It's always been known as kind of a secretive agency, very opaque. They're doing new training. They want it to be more transparent. They want their own legal counsel because they feel like the Attorney General's office is kind of errs on the side of less transparency. There's so many problems with this thing that they're trying to fix all at once. Retention, they're adding like new stipends for people who stick around for a long time because people get burned out so quickly. They're overhauling things that probably should have been changed years ago. The phone reporting system, they did not have caller ID apparently on the phones, and they actually lost a lot of cases for people who called from that. So there's a lot of things.
I think retention's been an important part of this. Will be an important part of this because they lose good workers. They get burnt out, overloaded. They don't make a lot of money. They'll go to other states, other places, and they keep the C- workers tend to stay there. It's a problem with a lot of social service agencies. You have people that want to do good, and you have other people that are just there to collect a paycheck, and they tend to lose the better caseworkers because of that burnout, because of low pay.
And the overall danger with an agency like this is that you will never solve all the problems. It's almost like when Janet Napolitano took the job at Homeland Security. If one bomb goes off, she did a bad job.
It's the lineman in the NFL. It's
exactly.
If you're doing your job, no one knows you're doing your job.
And there are always going to be kids in danger, being neglected. The hope now is, though, that they won't be forgotten about and put in a non-investigated file.
Well, let's talk about the legislative process here. Are all the ducks lined up in a row? Is a duck by the name of Biggs lined up on this one? Because he wants the nose to toes and this, that, and the other. I mean, is he going to cooperate? Is he going to throw some hurdles here? What's going to happen?
Well, in the last couple of weeks, we've heard some concerns from Andy Biggs and some of the more conservative lawmakers about some of the spending. This is a lot of money. Some folks are wondering, whether all of it's necessary. Like I mentioned, legal counsel earlier. That's one of the things they're concerned about because it's normally the province of the Attorney General's office, which actually sent a letter of complaining about this, I guess, today to Charles Flanagan, the new director of this. There's some child care subsidies that folks have some concerns with, and I think it rubs some folks the wrong way that the governor is funding this out of a lot of the funding is coming from about $25 million or a little more than that in vetoes, and some of the folks whose bills were vetoed aren't so happy about where that money's going.
$60 million, like 55 for next year, 5 to close out. There's something along those lines. Is that going to be the number we're looking at by the end of next week?
Well, the governor is a party of one, and the legislature doesn't want to be there in the summer. They're running for re-election, and these things tend to work out that way. She has an advantage there. But it's interesting. We're talking about how to fix the agency. Then we're talking about the majority caucus questioning about how much spending too much money and whether to do new things. So those kind of work against each other. The governor's office has managed this thing throughout. This happened under her watch, right? All these things happened as her governor, her guy in DES, but yet she's the one that's been outraged about this. She's the one that's been the reformer. She's actually managed this pretty well politically and PR-wise, and she's got a lot of good media from something that's pretty bad. But it's interesting because the Republican caucus may actually work against improving the agency.
Interesting.
I don't think that's going to happen in this case. I don't think we're going to see any sort of coalition like we had with the Medicaid situation. Now, typically, when a special session is called, the governor knows that she's going to have the votes, and we also know that because it's an election year, the expectations are things are going to get moving quickly. That doesn't mean there won't be opposition. There will be, of course. It's just that once you get to this point, the feeling is that it's not a slam dunk, but it's a layup.
Yeah, I think there'll be some grousing about some of these individual line items, but in the end, I don't know how much anyone really wants to be viewed publicly as the person who's standing in the way of this, much needed overhaul that everybody says is needed.
You guys are down there, and you do hear these conversations from folks on the right about the role of government. Is government supposed to be your parents? Government shouldn't take care of you. You could see some of that. Now that just ends up being rhetoric most of the times, and you'll see some changes around the edges, and the governor will get what she wants. But I think you will see a few of the more conservative folks talk about why are we throwing all this money, and that throwing money at the problem isn't the answer.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. You figure it's a 3-day session. You figure the 3 days, that's no more, right?
Probably not. I mean, it could, but I think it'll probably be 3 days.
All right. Congressman Matt Salmon has asked Tom Horne personally, picked up the phone, called him personally, please don't run. How unusual is that?
To personally call him is, I mean, you start to see Jeff Flake, Senator Flake has mentioned this, and you see people talk about this to the media and in private about whether Horne should be running, especially towards the general election against Felicia Rodolini if he's able to get through the primary. But yeah, it is kind of extraordinary for a member of Congress to call a state attorney general and tell him not to run. I think a lot of Republicans are kind of at the tipping point with Tom. Embattled attorney general is the phrase that you use with him, and I think they figure even if he beats Brnovich, and Brnovich hasn't raised a ton of money, he's going to have a really hard time winning in the general against Rodolini, and that'll be tough for the GOP to lose that one.
I'm going to draw a parallel that Attorney General Horne's not going to like. This sounds a lot like Andrew Thomas in the latter days of time he was county attorney, when he ran against Tom Horne for attorney general. I remember having a conversation with Senator John Kyle, who was still in office at the time. Said he had picked up the phone, called Andrew Thomas, told him maybe you should drop out. Andrew Thomas said, you have no idea what you're talking about, no thank you.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up because I thought back when we had our debates for the Attorney General, the primary, Republican primary for debate, we had Tom Horne, we had Andrew. It was easily the most combative debate, and to think where both of those gentlemen have gone since then, interesting.
Well, and it's a similar argument that Horne and his supporters use with Thomas is that he's going to be a liability in the general election, and now you're hearing the same thing used against Horne. You got Salmon, you got Flake, you got some legislators, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this. There is the concern among the GOP ranks is growing so much that if they end up nominating Tom Horne, he's going to lose to Felicia Rodolini. You not only give up a very important statewide office, but you set up someone who, the Democrats are clearly looking to groom probably for a gubernatorial run down the road as well, and that could be bad.
In 2010, when Horne won, I'll bet you he was eyeing running for governor in 2014. He's always, and now look what has changed with that. And Jeremy's absolutely right. If she wins that race, she can run for governor, she can run for a Senate seat, and it does give a parallels to Janet Napolitano.
From a strategic standpoint, I find it interesting that Flake, even though he got some flack from conservatives, doesn't get all that much. Salmon gets very little flack from conservatives. The one who does get a lot of flack from conservatives is John McCain, has said, maybe he should consider it, but I wouldn't push him to do that.
Well, that's an interesting point because and talk to me about this. What Congressman Salmon, it sounds as though he's not saying you've done wrong, you can't run, you shouldn't run again. It's you're going to hurt the party. Even Senator Flake said, I'm concerned that the party will lose that seat, instead of saying, I think you did at least McCain said, you got some problems here. You might want to think about this a little bit. I mean, does the public realize that these guys seem to be more, or perhaps they are, more concerned about the party as opposed to what's going on in that office?
Well, there's always that Ronald Reagan amendment about not talking personally ill about another Republican, so maybe you get around that. I think they are trying to protect themselves a little bit and not make it personal. But that is the reality. Is if he wins the primary, he'll probably lose in the general.
Go ahead, please.
Well, and what Salmon is the only one who talked to Horn personally, and when you're talking to someone in person, I think you probably have to be a little gentler, maybe more diplomatic. He said, I don't know. I think he basically said, I don't know if you're guilty or innocent. I don't know how this will play out. But while this is hanging over your head, it's going to be a problem. And I think probably the most telling thing about this is in the last couple of days, you're starting to see Democrats urging Horn to stay in the race. And I think there's a growing concern among Democrats is that he's not going to make it through. And they want Rodolini to run against Horn again in the general election. They don't want to face Brnovich. He hasn't been tarred and feathered by anything. He seems to have a good record. He's a credible candidate, and that's in Arizona's a Republican state. Most times a credible Republican is going to beat a credible Democrat.
And one more parallel with Andrew Thomas is that Tom Horn is now saying he has sort of powerful forces. That is not the exact phrase he used, but very similar. I've gone up against establishment before, and I've come out on top.
Well, I was going to ask about that particular statement. Is he right? Can he come out on top?
Well, certainly he can come out on top.
You think he
in a
still
republic, no, I certainly would not bet your money or mine, Ted, on that. But he certainly can. He has shown himself to be a bulldog over and over again. He's not Jan Brewer. He has lost races, but he's pretty tough.
What do you think? Do you think he can overcome this?
6 months ago, I think you asked on the show, and I thought Horn could still win the primary. I don't think so. I don't think so now. I think you see Republicans really looking at Brnovich, talking about Brnovich, looking at November, and making that calculated decision to support him. And I think they expect even more to come out on Tom. It just doesn't seem to stop.
The issue is whether Republicans who are not the dyed-in-the-wool conservatives who vote in the primary actually think Brnovich could win a general. They may love to throw Tom Horn out, and I think Brnovich will win that primary, but does anybody really think he can beat Rodolini? I think it would. I mean, they do because of the Republican advantage, but most people would view Brnovich as very, very conservative.
Well, and Rodolini is going to be sitting on $1 million when this primary is over. The Republican nominee is probably going to be pretty much flat broke. And whoever the Republican nominee is, whether it be Brnovich or Horn, you're going to have national groups, you're going to have state Republican groups throwing money at the race, just like you do in any prominent race. But so is Rodolini from the Democratic side, and that might be a problem if she can just dramatically outspend the Republicans.
All right. We should also note that Attorney General Tom Horn, who was supposed to appear on our program this week, but had to rescind that particular agreement because he decided to represent himself in response to these claims of election law violation. And since he's representing himself now, he doesn't want to do anything until he files his official claim, his official response, and that's going to be about Jews. Having yourself for your own lawyer, isn't there an old saying?
Yeah, there is an old saying about that. We were envisioning some Hollywood-type courtroom scenes with Tom cross-examining, with the whistleblower and those types of things. Can you handle the truth? Those types of scenes out there. It seems to be coming down around him. He is maybe hunkering down a bit, and he's embattled. That's every story you see nationally or locally. When embattled is next to your name in news copy every time, you're kind of in trouble.
All right, we will continue following that story for sure. Let's move on to another interesting situation regarding the congressional race, CD1, Gary Keeney, who claimed that most mass shootings were done by Democrats.
Yes, the narrative has been nationally is you have these gunmen that go into schools. It came up during the Jared Loughner thing. Clarence Dupnick, the sheriff down in Pima County, came out and said, this is because of the Tea Party and Rush Limbaugh. So a lot of folks on the right take umbrage to that, and they point out that a lot of the Unabomber, the Columbine kids, these other shooters are either registered Democrats or not conservatives. I think what he was trying to say, and I'm not defending what he said, was that the narrative that these are conservatives, these are NRA people that do these shootings is not true. What he said was that Democrats are the ones that do these shootings, and of course that caused a lot of outrage from his primary opponents, Andy Tobin, as well as the media.
Is that what he was trying to say?
I do not know what he was trying to say. I don't want to interpret that. Another thing, though, that he said was that he compared certain law enforcement officials during the Wallow fire in trying to get people out of their homes and evacuate, make them safer. compare them to Nazis. And
Was
I
it-
will
was
say
it-
that's never really a great idea.
Was it a direct comparison, or was there just kind of an inference and a couple of parallel sentences there? I mean, that didn't seem...
There were parallel sentences, but I think whenever you use that four-word term, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And I think you did that.
Yeah, the Keeney campaign says this was taken. These were in some comments to the Republic. They say this was taken out of context by the Republic, but even it was. If you even, like you're saying, Steve, if you even kind of hint at comparing these things, it's open season and everyone's going to land on you with both feet, and everyone is. Tobin's now calling on him to drop out of the race, which I'm sure he'll get right on that. So are a bunch of police groups and police unions, including some that are endorsing Tobin. But I would expect to see this thrown out over and over throughout the campaign now, because the narrative against Keeney now from Tobin and probably from Adam Quasman, the third candidate in that race, is that, well, you don't know what this guy's going to say. It's going to be a millstone around his neck if he gets to the general. Ann Kirkpatrick and the Democrats are going to beat him over the head with it. And so, therefore, vote for me.
Well, things he's saying is the rhetoric you see from the Tea Party folks online and some of these conservative blogs about gun rights, about mass shootings, about the police. You see it up in Nevada with the rancher up there. So you see this kind of extreme rhetoric, and this guy obviously takes it to heart and says it at public forums and to the media. Does anybody really think he has a chance to win this primary? I don't.
Well, that's a good question. And Tobin saying he should leave the race now. Would it be a good thing for Tobin if he were to leave? Wouldn't that, doesn't Tobin kind of sit apart from Quasman and Keeney?
Quasman and Keeney are certainly the conservatives in the race, not that Andy Tobin is exactly a moderate. But based on name recognition, one would think that Tobin would have the advantage. But if we look at how primary voters go, they may in fact say the liberal media is going after Gary Keeney, and Andy Tobin is a buddy with the liberal media, which no one would actually believe in a normal circumstance. But that district is so strange, Ted, the way it is drawn. I think that's a wild card too.
And you never know. That it's a huge district, and again, you're talking about this GOP primary, then welcome to Ann Kirkpatrick. I mean, you've got to figure that you've got to get past A to get to B, and how's all this going to affect B?
Well, it does show you the state of the Republican Party, because Andy Tobin was the pro-union guy, remember, in the last legislative race, and now he's the liberal rhino in this race against these two guys.
Yeah, I think Keeney tried to throw a Fiesta Bowl shot at Tobin when Tobin asked him to leave the race, and Keeney was saying that at least he owns up to his, it's election season, off we go. Speaking of which, Steve Gallardo drops his bid for Congressional District 7 to succeed Ed Pastor. Was that a surprise?
I think for a lot of people, not really. I mean, I had sources predicting this pretty much the day that Gallardo got into the race, and then especially a month or two later when the first campaign finance reports were in, Gallardo's turned in his report and said zeros across the board, and what he told all the media was, oh, well, I intentionally didn't fundraise. I was putting together this team, but I think that made him look really bad. People viewed him as more of the long shot against Gallego and Wilcox, and that, I think, really hurt his credibility as a candidate. Now that his colleague Anna Tovar announced last week that she was dropping out of the Board of Supervisors race, that opened a perfect window for him to kind of make an exit.
I think that also hurts his credibility, though. He's one of those guys jumping from race to race. Vernon Parker is an example of that, someone who sort of looks at a lot of different races and runs for things. Because there's no question, Mary Rose Wilcox has held that seat for a couple of decades. That is considered to be the Democratic seat on the Board of Supervisors. So it's not like they needed Steve Gallardo there. So this is, he has name recognition, he'll probably win, but he really looks like an opportunist here, which is not great for him, I don't think.
What do you make of all that? And especially now, we have a Board of Supervisors race because he will be running for the seat Mary Rose Wilcox held. Mary Rose Wilcox running for the seat that he was trying to, I mean, you got to.
This is what politicians do. They like to fill vacancies, how they get promoted in life. He has a good chance of that seat. Michael Johnson, the Phoenix City Councilman, Rogers, the mayor out in the West Valley, she's running too. So you have a kind of a crowded race there. But the Gallego Wilcox race is going to be the one I think is getting a lot of attention, at least locally, with how that shakes out geographically, generationally, and money-wise, because they both got out there fast and started raising money.
The generational thing, I think, is the most important thing to watch, because Mary Rose Wilcox has this constituency. She's had it for a couple of decades. She is seen as the person who will represent that district. Ruben Gallego, critics will say, he's going there to represent the district until he can find something else. She is going to be in that seat as long as she can. Ruben Gallego could run for governor in the future, could run for senator in the future, one doesn't know.
Wait, how do you make it? I mean, could be a very interesting, could be a nasty race, could be all sorts of things.
I think it probably is going to be a nasty race, and this is really for all the marbles. I mean, Ed Pastor had this for 23 years, and there's no reason to believe that whoever wins CD7 can't do the same thing. So it's much like the Board of Supervisors seat, it can kind of be in a seat for life if you really want it to be.
Well, Gallego has a couple advantages. His wife just won a city council race, so the name's out there. They registered a lot of voters, and they'll be focused on registering new voters, voters in Levine, voters maybe more middle class, maybe younger, and getting them to the polls where Mary Rose will rely on kind of the old crew.
And Mary Rose is going to follow in the pastoral footsteps and being one of the few members of Congress in Arizona who likes to bring projects home.
Yeah, bring home the bacon. I think
Exactly.
she's already used that particular phrase.
Absolutely.
All right, we have Scott Smith and we have Andrew Thomas, the latest filing for the governor's race. We also have Ken Bennett, who is already in the governor's race, wanting to appear in ads reminding you to vote when you're supposed to vote and don't mess it up this time.
Yeah, those are public information announcements, but I'm sure Ken will stand up there with a ballot with his name on it and point to it and say, for example, you're voting for governor, here you can vote for this guy.
Well, but he's got a point in the sense that if something does go wrong, he's going to be the first one they're going
That's the
after.
Secretary of State's job, and they have done stuff in the past. Our current governor, Jan Brewer, appeared in things. He sent out materials showing people how to vote. It's iffy because it is an ad and it's Ken Bennett's name out there. So it'll be interesting to see how Clean Elections rules on this. You can argue both ways.
Yeah, Bennett, he swears that he'll probably only be in it for a few seconds. He'll have nothing to do with his candidacy. He won't mention that he's a candidate for governor or anything like that. But his opponents still certainly don't want to see this. He's running with Clean Elections money, which means he's already at a fundraising disadvantage vis-a-vis Doug Ducey, Christine Jones, Scott Smith, and this just in the month or two before Election Day, especially the month that people are turning in their early ballots, his face, could be all over the TV. And, even if he doesn't mention his candidacy, you look at your ballot and say, oh, hey, I just saw that guy on TV.
Run one
He's
of
running
these
for
public
governor. I'm going to vote
education
for him.
campaigns without the office holder doing that. You can have an actress, an actor, everyday Arizonans do this. You can have Sandra Day O'Connor or John McCain get out there who are not up for election. Someone not up for election for the office that he's showing you how to vote and do these things.
But they're not the Secretary of State.
He's an expert on this. Only one person can appear in that ad, and that's Ken Bennett.
Well, his opponents might be afraid of the old Saturday Night Live skit, the Mr. Subliminal, and you have the little voice sort of underneath it. Ken's doing the normal.
All right, with Smith now and Thomas in the race, let's do some early handicapping here. Is Andrew Thomas, is he the spanner in the works? I mean, could he really do something, maybe not win, but certainly mess up the gears?
His press release before he had his press conference was exciting in the sense that he called himself one of the top contenders. I would say he is one of the top 6 or 7 contenders for the job. But no, he can say, but gosh, it would be, the only reason I think he could put a little bit of the grease in there is because there are so many candidates that if the winner could win with 22% of the vote, if Andrew Thomas takes 4%, could make a difference.
Yeah, he could siphon off, I think under 10%. I don't think he can get to double digits, but where's he going to siphon those votes off from? Everyone's running as a conservative, and he's the one standing up saying, well, I'm the real conservative, you all know me. I'm sure some of these candidates, Ducey or Jones or someone, is going to be going over his signatures with a fine-tooth comb, trying to find a way to get him knocked off of the ballot.
Well, if Captain Al Melvin and him get on the ballot together, they could impact the race, just like you guys said. And who benefits from that? Scott Smith. Scott's running towards the middle. He sends out campaign stuff defending the governor on Medicaid, talking about Common Core. That's not exactly Tea Party stuff that folks talk about in the primary meetings. So if you have a number of conservatives in there getting 2 or 3%, that helps Smith get to that magic 20-something number. And
is Andrew Thomas tone deaf, or are we, in the sense that he threw out the fact that, again, he's going to enforce immigration just like he did as county attorney, and that is if Congress acts, even a lame duck Congress actually acts, has immigration reform, does that make Thomas an outlier, or does it make him a favorite of conservatives to say, yeah, Congress, they got us, go back in there and get it?
I think it impacts Christine Jones because she's the one saying, I'm the no amnesty candidate. She's the one that likes Joe Arpaio. And so if he's in there and immigration is an issue, he could impact her in the race.
Illegal immigration and border security still poll very well among Republicans, and obviously you could see Christine Jones especially, really hoping that'll get some votes. But I don't think Thomas's position on illegal immigration and border security issues is really where his problem is going to be. It's going to be from the disbarment, all these court cases, and he feels like he was wronged, and this is kind of his vindication tour, and he's going to clear his good name. But the only people who are really buying into that are his dyed-in-the-wool supporters, the people who are going to stand with him no matter what.
And real quickly, before we go, here we are talking about the GOP primary. There's Fred Duvall out there standing by himself and having no challenger. Is that a good thing?
Fred will say he gets to talk to the middle. the moderate, the centrist voters every day. The Republicans get to talk to the Tea Party and deal with kind of rhetoric that we talked about before with blaming Democrats for mass shootings. So Fred has that advantage. The disadvantage is Fred's name isn't out there. He's still an unknown. But these are much shorter races than us in the media and the political insiders, think, because voters don't spend that much time thinking about this. So Labor Day, Fred will be on his own.
Right. We consider early voting. It's just going to be a couple of months, and I think Duval is not that well known. Behind the scenes, very well. Publicly, not that much.
All right, good stuff, guys. Good to have you here. Monday on Arizona Horizon, a Memorial Day special that revisits the legacy and impact of the Morenci Nine, and we'll learn about Arizona's National Cemetery for veterans and their families. That's Monday on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, we'll update the legislature's special session on child safety. Wednesday, the challenges of collaboration between public, private, and nonprofit groups. Thursday, a look at the upcoming election season. And Friday, another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.